What is going on, everybody? It is Alex coming back at you with another video, and today we are going to be releasing my mid-season rankings of the 2023 NFL Draft's quarterback class. So if you guys are new, feel free to like, comment, subscribe, do all that fun YouTube stuff down below. I would love to be able to talk to you guys through Discord. We're going to be getting a team, or not a team, but a fan mock draft very soon. Obviously, I'm actually doing tape studies over there now more regularly coming up soon, so love to be able to chat with you guys there, be able to watch some players, get to know what you guys think in real time there, and you get to know what I think in real time. It's fun. I love it all around. Started doing it again, and honestly, cannot love it any more than I already do. So let's kick this off. Let's start off with my number one overall quarterback. That is going to be Bryce Young. Again, if you guys see me looking this way, that's because I have a new monitor, and that's because, I'm not using a Mac laptop anymore. Wanted to make sure that we use a little bit more professional stuff. Let me know what you guys think of the design. I wanted to put a lot more energy into it, so want to make it look a little bit better than what we've done before. Regardless, Bryce Young, obviously, he has a little bit of issue in terms of his size, his injury as well. His arm strength is good, not elite, and that could be a potential constraint. So it's pretty much physical limitations that seem to be the big negative, but when it comes to processing, when it comes to making a lot out of a little, this guy certainly does know what he's doing. I think that he's a phenomenal player. He's a phenomenal competitor. He's able to come back from an AC injury less than 2 weeks after he gets it and is able to continue to ball out. Again, is he somebody who's blowing out teams every single week? No. But the fact is, we saw Tua and Mac do that all the time for Bama. And the fact is, we have not seen them be able to succeed in the NFL level at the way that we'd really love them to do. And we've seen Tua take a big step up this year, but we've also had our doubts. At least we've seen what Bryce can do when it comes down to the wire. Did they lose versus Tennessee? Yes, honestly, that was a great matchup. It was an awful matchup for Bama. It was pretty much everybody knew that it was the matchup for Bama to lose. And we've seen him versus Auburn have struggles, but we've seen him be able to pull it out when struggles do come. So I think that that's honestly more telling than seeing some quarterback who blows out the doors on every single team. But of course, when it comes to pressure coming in from any side, he's already used to it. So he knows how to maneuver the pocket. He knows how to make plays off schedule. I just think he's an absolute baller. So I have my top 3 teams right here for him. Obviously, with Jameson Williams, it'd be pretty awesome. They are in no particular order, so don't think it's like Lions 1, Panthers 3. But the Texans, obviously, with Deshaun Watson, you saw what they were able to do with more of a mobile quarterback. I love that idea as well. And then the Panthers, PJ Walker. I mean, that's it really, if I had to do a top 2, it would be definitely the Lions and the Panthers. I think that's just on another level. Obviously, John Mechie would be fun to reunite with his former quarterback there in Houston, but again, you've seen the success with him or with PJ Walker in Carolina. I would love to see how they can make it work with Bryce Young. Let's go on to quarterback number 2. God forbid AlexCBarbour puts up a list where CJ Stroud is the quarterback number 2. And again, he's a really damn good player. I just have issues with inconsistency. You see it. We saw it very recently. He looked booty cheeks for a half. That does happen. Again, we've seen Bryce Young have struggles as well, but the difference is Bryce Young has now had wide receiver groups that are not exactly top tier. Last year, Jameson Williams came onto the scene from Ohio State where he did absolutely nothing, and I think Bryce Young elevated his talent more than anything, but I mean, again, Jameson Williams, great talent. I'm not trying to shame him. I'm trying to uplift Bryce here, but the fact that we're seeing Marvin Harrison and Emeka Ibuka, you obviously Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave, Jack Smith, and Jigba. Those are 5 guys who are probably going to be first-round wide receivers. And if you're struggling with 5 first-round wide receivers, what are you going to do when you have maybe 1, if not maybe 2, on your team, and you're going up against higher-level DBs, better defensive coordinators? There are legitimate concerns, and I cannot stress that enough. And again, he has the big size. He does not have the physical limitations at all. But again, when it comes to it, you do have to be able to put your eyes in, see oh my God, this guy has these games where you're making awful decisions, making awful passes, and you shouldn't, because your receivers are open and your receivers are God tier. So if they're not open, they're still open. There is legitimate concerns, and I know that people don't like to hear that, but the fact is they are legitimate, and Obviously, CJ Stroud's not going to be like Hendon Hooker level athleticism. We'll talk about him very soon. But next, we got Will Levis. So, I didn't talk about my dream fits. Sorry, my bad. The Colts, obviously, I think that they've been able to prove that, the veteran route's not really going very well for them. So I think that getting CJ Stroud would be a very nice addition. Good offensive line, developing weapon core. Definitely a team that has the makings of a super squad, which is why I choose them to do well every year, and they fail me every year. Super annoying. But obviously the Lions, you're replacing Jared Goff, so they're already used to a less mobile system. Same thing with Davis Mills there in Houston. Next, we got Will Levis. So obviously he's a big dude, cannon arm, but when you do look at the past, he was not able to beat out Sean Clifford. This dude is older. Again, he's 24, probably going to be around 25 come his rookie year. And, I do love the tenacity. He loves to lower the shoulder, but the fact is, even coaches were worried shitless about Josh Allen in his first couple years. Like, you keep hitting that right shoulder, that is damaging your throwing shoulder. So being able to learn how to avoid contact, definitely something you can learn at the next level. But my biggest issue with Will Levis has nothing to do whether he's actually beaten Sean Clifford or whether he whether he slides or not. It's the fact that he has these games, and they're much more numerous than CJ Stroud's, where you're seeing him throw to some weird ass routes. Like you just don't understand what's going through his mind when he does stuff like that. That concerns me. Legitimately, if I see a quarterback and I see them do something very sketchy, where I'm like, why are you throwing that? Like, why are you forcing that read? Why do you have that? Like, why are you making a turnover-worthy play versus Youngstown State? Like, those are definite concerns, and he does it way more often than not. So, obviously, he has the big build. He has the cannon arm. He can put it on a dot right on the face mask, but there are just times where I don't understand what he's doing. I just don't. So, we'll see how it goes. Obviously, again, I'm a huge fan of the Colts or Houston being able to make it work with somebody of his style. But I think the New York Giants, if they were to be somehow crazy, if they end up not performing as well, similar to how the Cardinals did last year after they went 7-0, they'd be a good spot for a man like this, someone who is a little bit more unruly. I think it would be a good spot for someone like Daboll to continue to correct him into the guy who a lot of people think he could be. Let's go next to Hendon Hooker. So Hendon is obviously getting a lot of hype, and I don't want to go overboard with the love for Hendon. I don't think he's worth a first-round pick. I think he's worth a late second, early third, based on the fact that he's 25 years of age. However, he does do a very good job on his decision-making. He knows exactly where to go. I think that he doesn't get past his second read very often, but a lot of these quarterbacks in college don't. A lot of offenses aren't built for that. And at least you see him go to the second read. Now, I think they do very well in an offense where it's like very West Coasty. You see a big hitter, or else you go for a check down. He does that very well, and I think that's a very good way to start out your career. It took him a long ass time to get here, but I think that he's going to be perfectly fine. Now, I would say that the zip is not consistently there. I know that he can rainbow it 50 yards, but the fact is, I don't see him throwing the ball 6 feet off the ground for 40 yards. Like, you saw Trey Lance do it. You saw Justin Herbert do it. You've seen these guys with these monster arms throw it on a rope. That's the term that we like to use. And he doesn't have that. He doesn't have that rope type of arm. It does take a little while to get there. It is a legitimate concern. Now, I don't think that he's going to be a starter necessarily in the NFL, but I do think he could be a potential starter. I don't think he's a franchise quarterback. I think he's a potential starter. But again, you see these balls, like if there's a guy open down the seam, it's going to be hit on target. Like that's probably his specialty. He's a seam specialist, and that's awesome. I think that's great. Obviously, he's a great runner. Huge fan of his mobility. But overall, he's just a really balanced dude. He just doesn't have the ceiling in terms of that physical ability. And when you look at teams, again, someone who can use PJ Walker and beat Tom Brady, it's a great spot for him to go. And obviously, Geno Smith. And then you saw what they could do with Deshaun Watson. Not saying that's a comp at all, but the Texans could be a great option as well. Again, you guys can see where I'm projecting them to go. This is where it starts to matter because now we're actually talking about quarterbacks. This guy, I don't know if is going to be coming out in the draft. His name is Anthony Richardson. He was my number 2 quarterback coming into the year. He has had some really bad games. And I mean really bad games. But he's also flashed unbelievable potential. And I'm dreaming that he comes out and that teams are scared until the Giants and they're just like, screw it, let's take a shot. He has the best physical prospect. His physical attributes are top tier in the class. When you just see what he can do, he could it literally is just so smooth. He just goes like that, boom, 50 yards downfield. It's just ridiculous. That type of rope that I was talking about, that's something that he can do. It's probably him and Levis that have that level of an arm. So unbelievable. And you do see even in that week 1 game when he was rolling out to the right and just threw it on a rope, on a dime, right to the corner of the end zone. You can tell that he has the foundation to do stuff out of structure, do stuff on the move. And I think that's awesome. And again, you look at his size, 6'4", 236 pounds. It's a big ass dude. So again, he has so much more developing to do. He's not ready. He needs a year, if not 2, of just getting to know how to play football at a high level. And again, this is his first year starting. So, there are going to be a lot of growing pains. The question is he going to let an NFL team deal with that, or is he going to let Florida deal with it? And that's going to be something where we'll see come maybe January when he's like, I don't know whether I'm going to come out or not. So let's hope. I really do hope he does come out, because I would love for him to be in that late first territory where you can see a team like Seattle be able to say, hey, we're going to move up to the late first, or we have that late first pick already from our own, God forbid, not from Denver, but they have that Denver second round pick. They could be like, hey, I want to trade up with the Eagles. We want to take them at 32. I can get that. I can understand that. So we'll see how it goes. Next, we got Tanner McKee out of Stanford. Obviously he's actually, I believe, the tallest quarterback of this list. So that's good. Obviously, you don't have to worry about that. He has a good frame. But when you do look at him, he beat cancer at 16 years old. So you already know he's one hell of a competitor. He's already been through a lot of shit. So not somebody you need to worry about in the locker room. I think that's a very good trait, because we see guys like Baker Mayfield who they can either galvanize a locker room or split it apart. This is going to be a much more of a calm, quiet leader, because you don't see him causing a lot of drama at Stanford, and they have a lot of players that maybe shouldn't be at the FBS Pac-12 level, given the fact that the talent around them is just so much better. So he's at a comparative disadvantage to a lot of teams he faces, but I never see him get mad at his teammates. I never see him just become just a total douche. And sometimes you need that dog in you. But one, he's a college quarterback. But two, I mean, what is that going to do? Again, it's not like you're playing with NFL players who that they can get better. So I just love him as a leader. He really does look like a guy who can galvanize a locker room without having to really be someone to fracture it. His accuracy and placement is top tier. You see it. It goes to the right spot at the right time, and I do love that. Then again, he also doesn't really make that many mistakes. I will say his red zone processing this year has been a little suspect. I do genuinely worry about that, but I mean, again, this is a guy who, this is, I believe, his second year starting. So, he's still going through it. It's not like this guy's going to be a 4-year or 5-year starter like Kenny Pickett, where he's been able to do this over and over and over. And it's just pure muscle memory. Now let's look at his disadvantages. He's not exactly going to be somebody who's very good in terms of scrambling. He's not going to be your Hendon Hooker, but, he is mobile enough. He doesn't have a noodle arm, but he also doesn't have a cannon. It's going to be more of that, slightly worse than Bryce Young type of arm talent. And then again, I don't really think his mechanics, in terms of his footwork, just overall his game is exactly what it needs to be at the NFL level, but that is correctable. Maybe not as easily as I'm making it seem, but I still think it's correctable. I think a team like the Buccaneers is perfect for him. I love that option. Obviously, Goff, you can pretty much just step in and continue, if not be better. And then the Saints, they're going to be featured a lot of times on this list for a team that could probably use a potential future quarterback. Now let's go. Cameron Ward is next. I love him so much. He really reminds me a lot of what Malik Willis was. He has a lot of potential, but it's another guy where his zip is super inconsistent. Again, you can throw it a very long distance, and that's fine. But if it's taking a while to get to your target, either you're not putting enough juice on it, you're naturally not strong enough to put consistent juice on the ball, or you just don't have the arm strength to do it. So I do have those concerns about him. He does look a little bit raw in the pocket, which I don't think you get that type of training at Incarnate Ward. So there definitely is potential for him to take that step up. And, you do see unbelievable potential with this guy. There's a reason why people are putting him in their first round. It's not because he's going to go there. It's because people want him to know. Like, people want everybody to know this guy is worth this type of pick. Like, maybe not a first, but he's definitely worth being considered at least as a late first pick. I think he'll go in the late second. Again, I've said enough with the P.J. Walker, Deshaun Watson, and, like Taysom Hill, for example. So I think this is a good spot for him to go. I think those three are a nice trio to look at. And then Tyler Van Dyke. He's been not on a roll. Obviously, he was my quarterback 3 starting the year. Had a lot of faith in him, but he just hasn't hit it. And it's a little bit unfortunate. Like, it really is. Because, obviously you had Cristobal coming in. You started out that 70-point game, and then you get benched against Middle Tennessee State. I don't understand. I don't know if he goes late 4. I'm just doing that out of, like, respect more than anything. I don't know if I would want to take him late 4. He's just kind of embarrassing as a quarterback. When you do look at it, he has good arm, he's good enough mobility, but obviously nothing spectacular. He seems to like feel the pocket well, know his timing. But I mean, man, when you just see how much of a drop off he had, it's legitimately concerning. It's like, how the hell can you not perform against Middle Tennessee State? But teams like the Patriots, who know how to maximize these Mac Jonesy type dudes, definitely seems like a good spot to go. I think he's going to be a backup. I think he'll be a career backup at this rate, but he does have some physical traits that could be projectable as a starter. So we'll see how that goes. Next, we got Keaton Slovis. He started out a lot higher on this list starting the year, but it is somebody where his intellect is certainly there. You do see what happens when, he's able to make reads. He's able to feel the pocket very well. It's very rare that he makes stupid decisions, but he makes maybe 1 or 2 a game that are just like, what the hell are you doing? Like, he does great decisions until it matters. So I would say, like, it's not exactly his number 1 strength as processing, but he does have a very good awareness of what's going on around him overall. His injury has been, it hasn't been great. I want to see, I have a weird feeling. So, okay. That's my fault. So basically, this slide is a copy from Bryce Young. So these are not his exact traits, but I mean, to be fair, size and injury and arm strength are all 3 very much negatives. This is Bryce Young's. I forgot to edit it, so RIP to me. I do think his processing is a strength in terms of feeling the awareness around him. I would say he makes some stupid decisions. So again, that's why I was trying to push back. I was like, why would I put it there? He is actually pretty damn mobile in terms of his ability to escape the pocket. Off schedule, he does make some stupid reads, which is why I didn't like him before. He does lose the love of the locker room, so I would not consider leader as one of the strengths of him, but he has had experience at multiple schools and has been able to be a starter at multiple schools. But I do think that a team like the Vikings, where you're looking for that guy to be just a really good backup, could be a nice new addition to this list. I don't think he gets drafted due to a lot of injury concerns. Next, and lastly, we actually have one honorable mention, but we got DJ Uiagalelei out of Clemson. So, obviously, you've seen the flashes. I've never been a guy for DJU. You guys know that very well. I've never been a fan of DJ. I watched him even versus like Wake Forest where he was tearing him up. I did not like DJ then. Still don't now. And people are starting to say, oh, this guy got benched because he sucks. Sometimes guys just don't improve. The stats may look like they improve, but sometimes they don't. So yeah, for DJ, I mean, I legitimately have this gut feeling that when I watch him play, he has no love for the game. Yeah, I just don't know why. It's just when I watch him play, this guy does not look like he loves football. Genuinely doesn't look like he loves football. And that to me is very scary. But he has a big arm. He's a big kid. He can move, but overall, he does have some very critical flaws. And if that is true, if what I'm thinking that might be true is true, then I would never, ever touch this guy with a draft pick. Ever. Because there's a genuine concern in my heart whether this guy actually loves football. But next, and finally, honorable mention, KJ Jefferson. So, obviously KJ's been a beast. He's taken a big step up, which is great because I was like, okay, this guy's cheeks when looking at him last year. But again, he doesn't have the best arm. He's not going to be, he doesn't look like he's going to exactly be a quarterback. He's never going to be that guy who can potentially start. But teams that are looking for that quarterback 3 in the 7th round that could just take a step in, could play some reps at the end of the game if, quarterback 1 is hurt and quarterback 2 hurts himself a little bit for the game. I think a team like the Steelers would love his size. Big Benny, very similar. Broncos, they don't really have Jack, in my opinion. And then the Chargers, you can see what they do with a bigger quarterback who had some of these concerns, and not arm talent-wise, that KJ Jefferson did. But, we'll see what happens with KJ. A lot of people are thinking that his position changed, including Broshmos, so we'll definitely see. But that's going to be the list. Thank you guys so much for supporting and watching as always. See you on the far side.